When I say that Eric Musselman has won everywhere, I truly mean everywhere. NCAA, NBA, CBA, USBL, D-League, internationally, maybe the only coach ever to be named Coach of the Year, not just 3 times, but in 3 completely different leagues. And now the league that he is set to join with USC, the Big Ten, that begins officially in August. And we are very excited to welcome Eric Musselman onto the Big Ten Today stage for the first time. Coach, first and foremost, great to have you with us. And I know that you've done this before, but I'm imagining it doesn't get any less crazy when you change jobs, try to settle in, figure out your staff and roster. What's your life been like the last couple of weeks?
It's been crazy, Rick, as you can only imagine. And obviously super excited to be at USC and be back in Los Angeles. This is the third time that I've lived in LA. So looking forward to the challenges ahead, and obviously going into the Big Ten certainly presents a lot of challenges as well. So just trying to put our roster together as quickly as possible with the way the portal's set up. It would be a crazy time for anybody, let alone when you're a new coach going into a new league as well.
Everything seems to be more fluid now than maybe it's ever been in college basketball. So for you, why was this job with the Trojans the right job at the right time?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, with any of us, job-wise, it always, you have the job aspect of it, you have the personal aspect, and then you have the family aspect. So all three align perfectly for myself, my family, and then I hope for the school as well. But we're really excited. I think that the brand of USC, the brand of the Big Ten, all those things make it a great spot for us to be at right now. And we're super excited.
You mentioned a few of the things that you've already tasked yourself with since getting this job. What's the number one thing that has to happen before you start to feel settled in the new position?
Having 13 players, having a group of guys that that the roster's settled, and then certainly it gets, you get into your 8 weeks where you're able to work with the guys in the summertime. But right now it's trying to get the staff assembled, get the player, the roster, working with roster management's probably the number one priority. Staff would be number 2 right now. And then eventually it's going to come down to family moving from Fayetteville, Arkansas. And then there's that whole aspect of it, getting my daughter situated, going into a new high school. So all those things are kind of coming after our roster management. But we are looking for a strength coach and another assistant coaching spot to fill and basketball ops. And so we still have a lot of work to do, but right now the roster just, it's very difficult to win in any sport without great players. And that's what we're really focused on right now.
It's so true. I talked with Danny Sprinkle from Washington last week. He said something very similar. Everybody thinks this is a glorious job. I'm sleeping in a hotel. I haven't even found the local coffee shop yet. That comes 3rd, 4th, and 5th after everything else. So let's go to the first thing that you talked about, and that is filling your roster. You've obviously done a great job in the portal. You've received a couple of commitments already. What is your philosophy on managing and balancing that quote-unquote traditional recruiting philosophy of going after high school kids against the newer philosophy of being able to get guys who can come in and be ready to play with college experience already under their belts?
Yeah, I think, for us, the success has been doing both. I look back at our team a year ago with 4 guys playing in the NBA. We had 3 high school guys, a lottery pick in Anthony Black, Nick Smith, the 1st-round draft pick, Jordan Walsh, the 2nd-round pick by Boston, and then Ricky Council, an undrafted player who was a transfer, who's now playing for the 76ers. So I think you've got to have a good blend. Certainly the success of incoming freshmen who can be one and dones. I look at the run we made to an Elite 8 with Moses Moody who led us in scoring and led us in minutes played as a freshman. So I think you've got to have a good blend. Certainly the transfer portal for all sports. Transfers give can give leadership. Transfers give obviously experience and guys that have played in big games. But yeah, in our opinion, you've got to have a blend. I think it's really hard sometimes in your first year to hit the high school market just because so many players are committed. But certainly, I think you got to have a blend. And when you can get incoming freshmen that have NBA level talent, whether it be first year, like some of the guys I've mentioned, or second year guys that come in as freshmen, like Jalen Williams, who's playing with Oklahoma City, I think all that stuff becomes super, super important. So moving forward, we want to hit the high school recruiting as hard as we can and try to find guys that we've identified that can turn into NBA players. And then in the transfer portal, guys that can help immediately.
Eric, your style has been really fun to watch, whether it's on the international stage, in college basketball. Your teams could always score. Your Arkansas team last year, final 8 games of the year, is a small sample size, average 86 per game. How much do you hope to bring that style and push the pace in LA?
No, we certainly want to, play a cosmetically pleasing style from an offensive standpoint. I do believe it always, comes down to what your personnel is and trying to figure out the strength of your roster and then what that looks like to try to help win games and also develop players throughout the course of the season. I think that, we've always tried to pride ourselves having our program play as good a basketball as we can towards the end of the year. And certainly want to be a team that improves throughout the course of the season, especially in year one. But I do feel creating an identity. We've tried to recruit players thus far that can give us an identity in year one of playing super hard. And then the defensive side of the ball, especially in the Big Ten, you've always got to have great defense to advance either in conference tournaments or maybe most importantly, in our opinion, in the NCAA tournament. So it's got to be a good blend offensively and defensively, but certainly would like to continue the offensive philosophy that we've had, the last 5 years at Arkansas, as well as the 4 years at Nevada when we did have some really good offensive teams that could score the ball and space the floor as well.
As you just mentioned, you have seen the Big Ten from the opposition's perspective over the last couple of years. So from that perspective, how does it compare and contrast to other leagues you've coached in?
Well, certainly I think that as you look at the landscape of at least college basketball, the Big Ten and the SEC, and it's probably all sports. I mean, those are 2 premier conferences. The coaching in the Big Ten for basketball is incredible. Every night you're going to get up against a legendary coach, Hall of Fame type coaches, or you're going against some great younger up and coming coaches that have great upside in their careers moving forward. So a lot of challenges. And then certainly, I've tried to study even, going into as a road team to the Big Ten venues and understand, what those crowds are going to be like. And I know in a lot of Big Ten cities that it's not just game day that they're looking forward to a basketball game. They look forward to the 2 to 3 days leading up to a home game in a lot of Big Ten venues. So super challenging for sure to win a home game in this league as well as to win a road game. But I've tried to spend a lot of time studying Big Ten coaches that have been at their current jobs and try to look at what happens after timeouts, offensively, defensively, what they do in late game situations. I have a lot to learn. Certainly in the SEC, I felt very comfortable with a lot of the coaches on what might be coming after timeouts, what the late game play packages were offensively. So we got a lot of work to do this summer in preparation before we get to league play. And once the roster's done, we'll dive into more analysis of some of the coaching philosophies that happen in this league.
You're right. The Big Ten fans are usually ready 2 or 3 days before, but you spend some bad winters in Minneapolis and Champaign. They may be 2 or 3 days before games out in LA when their team is going to visit you to get a little bit of sun after spending that kind of time in the winter. Eric, I want to finish here. You've already touched on some of the challenges in terms of the coaches you'll go against and the players and the quality of the opposition. Outside of on the court, what do you foresee as being the biggest challenges as you enter a league that now does, in fact, stretch basically from coast to coast?
Yeah, I think, Rick, it's what is your recruiting philosophy going to be? Are you going to just recruit as if I'm going to use USC as an example. Are you just going to recruit the West Coast, as if you were in the Pac-10 or Pac-12, or are you going to expand your recruiting base now, knowing that that a potential player could be playing, in Michigan, in Ohio, for several different games. So I think that philosophy is something that our staff will discuss. Certainly, we're going to have to recruit the Los Angeles market. We're going to have to recruit California. And then how much do we expand outside of that area? And it might be a little bit of trial by air as well. I know that, when we got the job at Arkansas, we weren't really sure. Dallas became a great market for us at Arkansas. We did not know that necessarily going in. So we're going to learn on the job. I mean, that's part of what happens in year one and year two with many coaches that are new to a program or new to an area. I do feel that much of our recruiting base that we had, at Nevada is going to be somewhat similar just from a geographical standpoint, because we did recruit LA really hard, as well as Northern California when we were at Nevada. So feel comfortable in that. And then there's the whole areas in the Midwest that maybe will be new to us as well.
It's those unknowns that make it so exciting. Eric, we really appreciate the time. First chance to catch up with Coach Musselman. I'm sure it will be the first of many. Wish you the best of luck getting that roster, that staff, and of course, getting your family settled in LA.
Thanks, Rick. Appreciate you having me on. Fight on.